Plan for the current review on pederasty. Because the goal of this chapter is to study pederasty scientifically, the foregoing points will structure the approach to follow. First, it is important to discuss the relevant clinical data. The clinical reports that have come out over the last 3 decades presenting cases of men who reacted negatively to or were traumatized by boyhood sexual events with older males and felt or were judged to have been damaged long-term as a result are taken here as no more than suggestions for what may obtain in the general population, rather than as evidence for what actually does occur throughout this population. As discussed previously, unsupported extrapolation from clinical case studies to the entire population constitutes the clinical fallacy. When homosexual patients half a century ago evidenced disturbance over their sexuality, was this a primary reaction independent of other factors or secondary in nature, such as A, a response to intense social hostility and discrimination, B, an internalized harm-producing belief about being diseased as a result of dominant social views, i.e. nocebo reaction, or C, the same kind of belief but clinically rather than socially induced, i.e. iatrogenic harm. The same questions can be raised in clinical cases of pederasty, which has been highly problematized in our society, especially since the rise of sexual victimology in the 1970s, which successfully instated among the lay public and professionals alike strong expectations that all instances of adult minor sex are highly injurious, setting up the conditions for problems such as nocebo reactions and iatrogenic harm. In short, recent clinical reports of negative effects of pederasty are not probative with respect to the effects in the general male population. Hence, what is needed is an examination of non-clinical samples, which forms the first part of this review. Previously, in discussing homosexuality, some of the more significant examples of historical, sociological, anthropological, zoological, and evolutionary approaches to understanding it were mentioned, i.e. Bogomil, 1999, Crumpton, 2003, Dover, 1978, Greenberg, 1988, Hurt, 1984, Sommer and Vasey, 2006. Most, if not all, of these works were undertaken to understand homosexuality, that is, understood to mean the gay pattern in the modern West. But in each of these works, pederasty or pederastic-like behavior was prominent or even predominant, which is the general rule in such research. Given this copious source of relevant, broad-based evidence, along with the general guidelines discussed previously emphasizing the importance of using such evidence for assessing sexual behavior, the current study will examine evidence from each of these broader disciplines after the non-clinical empirical review.